Angela, could you please take centre stage?
Can I come up here?
Wherever you wish.
Right, well thank you very much for inviting me here, and I'd like to particularly thank Peter for writing such a flattering preview of my work. The first poem that I'm going to say here is, I sometimes go to a club locally. I always thought that I was far too young to go there, until I found myself writing this, and it's called Windfalls. Sometimes I visit the old people, drift round the corner in the winter light, sit and listen to a talk on Freud, watch a film, black and white. No matter if it's dated, heard it all before, they're always pleased to see new blood. Wake me up with tea at 4. Fetch my coat, escort me back across the road, strewn with berries, pecked by crows. Now that was put online by South, so it's not in the book. And the first one I'm going to read from the book is called Goose. And I wrote this on an Avon course. I don't know if anybody else has been on one, but it was in Devon, the first one I went to, and it was in a very, very old 15th century house, which apparently was in the Domesday Book, and it was in the wilds of Devon. And Joe Shapcott, who was taking the course, said, at about tea time when we got there, she said, "Now I'd like you to have a look around the house and write a poem to bring to the workshop first thing tomorrow." And I thought, what? This is not how I operate. And anyway, I thought I must go out for a walk. And I was in a real spin, my head was in a spin. I went out for a walk and I looked back, and everybody was writing away in the window, and I thought, I can't think of anything to say. In the end, I wrote this, and I wrote it at about 2 in the morning, and it's called Goose. They say it's safe round here, offer me tea. No crime for 1,000 years, but what of the weed killer and the empty chair? The 3 men in the kitchen wearing striped aprons, the girl with a knife, slicing wet fish. The secrets brailed round library walls, the shelves full of murder and poems without meter. I fly out of the door, run across fields, down to the river, follow a goose through silver rushes, wonder what lies under the reeds. When I hear when the cattle recede and I hear them say, "It's safe round here, offer me tea." Now the next one is called Encrypted, and I mention here a carrier pigeon, and every time I hear somebody mention a carrier pigeon, it takes me right back to North Wales, where I lived during the war in a place called Old Colwyn, and we had a flat overlooking the high street, and a carrier pigeon landed on our windowsill when I was about 3 or 4. And my mother was very concerned because it had a message around its leg, which might have been important, but by the time it all flapped around the window, it flew away. And I read recently about a pigeon that was found in a chimney in Surrey. So this is called Encrypted. Leonardo wrote the Codex on the flight of birds, backwards with his quill. Left-handed, he saw no reason to discard the habit, but the ink smears if I pen a slant across the page. To make it harder for others to crib my notes, I cipher my thoughts in the mirror, a tip I learnt from Alice, who cracked the Jabberwocky in the glass, heard the shrill of the jub-jub, the squeak of pencil on slate. And some messages sent out during World War II still remain a mystery, such as the enigma in the lippy red capsule strapped to the skeletal leg of the carrier pigeon found in a chimney in Surrey, a fallen hero, its secret held fast on vellum the colour of bone. Now, I'm still trying to decide which ones to read. And I think I'll read this one, which is called Poached. It always rains when I lean over the bath to wash my hair. Hear the window cleaner clatter his ladder against the brick. My kitchen table the perch on which to rest his elbows after the shining. He speaks of the woman before, who gave him more than a cup of coffee, told him there were 5 ways to break an egg, and 39 ways to cook one. But when it comes to boiling soft or hard, he hedges his bets, studies the form, fondles the glass timer, fashioned like the slip of a girl. Golden sand sifting through her narrow waist. It reminds him of the turquoise sea, lapping the map of the world. The day he fell off the cliff, a horizontal layer of igneous rock. He cracked his ribs, heard the cry of a gull, her eggs shattered in his pocket. I'll read this one called Chicken Feed, which is about a lovely painting that was in my grandma's house where we lived in Cornwall for a while, and I always liked this painting. It was right at the end of a dark corridor, and I thought, why is it there? Nobody looks at it, and I thought it was so lovely. I took it off the hook and brought it into the front of the hall near the door, so that more people would look at it, and I polished the frame up, and I was so disappointed when it suddenly disappeared and I never saw it again, and I still remember it now. So I call this Chicken Feed. The girl stands in the shadows casting grain, dark hair spilling over her shoulders, down her muslin dress, the texture of her skin warm as an olive grove, sunbeams slanting through the timbers of the porch. He draws her to the light, towards the candle flame, rehangs her portrait in the hall, polishes up the frame. Her charms exposed, he asks how much the girl would fetch, sells her for a froth of beer, a puff of cigarettes. Which one? This one is called Open Book, and I live in North London, and I was standing outside Waterstones one day wondering whether to go in or catch the bus, and it began to snow a little bit, and this man came up who I did vaguely know, and he said, if I painted you, I'd call it winter, freeze you in the frame, he says, as I shelter from the rain, edge inside the bookshop, get up to date with what's going on from Southend Green to China. A botanical artist, illustrator, writer. His grandmother danced with the Kirov. He was born in Shanghai, half German, half Hungarian. He'd lived in Spain, met Picasso, owns a painting for certain, invites me into the cafe, warms my day, then vanishes in a plume of steam rising from La Soupa, an empty bowl still on the tray, a book left on the table. Now La Soupa is actually a painting by Picasso, and as Peter mentioned, I do draw on paintings sometimes, and this particular one is called Waiting, and funnily enough, well, it's probably the shortest one I've written, and it's the most published, perhaps that's why. And somebody took it, well anyway, he translated into Indian Urdu, so never let your stuff go online, because well, who needs an agent, let's face it. It's called Waiting. I pour milk from the brown jug into the bowl, like the woman on the postcard you sent from Amsterdam. Crumble the bread to make your favourite pudding, sweeten it with sugar, stir in the fruit, grate the nutmeg, sunlight on my hands, your shadow pegged to my shoulder. I think that must be 10 minutes. Is that 10 minutes, isn't it?
I'm not counting.
Isn't it?
If you've got another one, I'm
Yeah, do one more.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
do
I'll just
one more.
read this one
By
off,
popular request.
which is called Undertow. And because of all the subsidence and the houses where I live in North London, they're all cracking and falling apart. I'll have to soon go to bed with a helmet on because there's so many cracks on the ceiling. And also it's a terrible incident that occurred once when I was actually going to a wedding, and which was very unnerving, happened beforehand. It's called Undertow. Only a pane of glass between you and the weather. Rain hammers the window like lead shot. You clear the breakfast tray. Wash all trace of berries from the bowl. Your hands speckled like the egg of a wading bird. Water spouts from the gutter, blurs your vision. Outlook grey. You imagine the clay swell 6 foot under. The house heave and fall. The sinister slope of the floor. Which way now the cracks yawning on the wall? Which way now to prise open the pantry door? Saucepan lids clatter as the drain overflows, flushes out the vent, offers up a lively rat in the wake of the effluvia. Did you see it in your special K? Hear the woman in the red dress scream. Now I think women get this more than men because at that time when I wrote this, the cereal packet had a woman in a red dress on the back of it, and actually I was, for once, instead of being in my night gear or my jeans, and I was going to a wedding, so I'd got a nice dress on, had my hair done, my nails done, all this, and I opened the pantry door and a rat was inside it, eating my special K, and I knew the scream was like Psycho. And I was late for the wedding. I thought I'm going to be late for the wedding, and I had planned to go on the tube as I usually do, and I thought, well, I must get a cab because I was so late. And I arrived there in such a state of nerves, and and sort of saying how lovely the bride looks, and aren't they sweet, and all this, and I couldn't sit and have dinner, wedding feast, and say there was a rat in my mouth. so it was really a trauma, and they put that online on the poetry kit, and then I had a few more put on there with a photograph, which doesn't look anywhere like I do now. Anyway, so I think that must be 10 minutes.